Hi, this is Rob Anspach, and I am with Stefan Aarnio up in Winnipeg. Now, I'm in Pennsylvania, and it's cold here, and I'm outside. It's pumpkin weather, so I'm embracing my inner pumpkin. But this interview is going to be something special because Stefan is a real estate investor. He's written a lot of different books, and in this interview, we're going to talk about how to invest, why to invest. You know, do you want to quit your job and start investing? I mean, these are some of the questions that hopefully Stefan will enlighten us with. So welcome, Stefan, and I hope that it's warm up where you are, but I doubt it.
Oh man, I'm up in Winnipeg. It's freezing, it's raining, it's cold. I got a scarf, I got a sweater on. It's not pretty.
So tell me about real estate. I mean, you've written a couple books. How did you get into it?
Well, I was a musician, Rob, when I was 22 years old. I was a guitar teacher. I was playing in bands, making all my money off music. And I decided that music wasn't going to work for me. I wanted to move out of my mom's house. I wanted to own a car and a house and maybe have a girlfriend, take a girl out on a date once in a while that wasn't a rock show. And decided that I was going to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And Rich Dad Poor Dad, I read the book. It changed my life. They said, buy assets, buy real estate, start companies. Anybody can become rich. And I started taking real estate seminars. And then out of sheer stupidity, I started buying houses. And my first couple deals were, they were profitable, but they weren't great deals. And, I eventually hired a coach and he straightened me out. And, I've become very successful since.
I know a lot of poor landlords. So what's the difference between, buying a real estate and being poor and flipping homes and making some money?
Well, that's a very big question. I mean, there's lots of people who have rental properties and, rental properties may or may not make you money. There's no guarantees. The same way that flipping properties may or may not make you money. If you know how to do it and if you know the formula and if you follow the formula and if you're able to execute that, you can make a lot of money. With real estate, though, you can also lose a lot of money. It's no different than internet marketing or social media or anything else. You can make money and you can also lose money as well.
I see behind you is I guess your noteboard. You write everywhere.
hmm
What are some of your scribbles there?
I was training a new bookkeeper in the office here. So I got a couple full-time employees and I was showing her the corporate structure that we're using and trying to explain where all these invoices and et cetera are coming from and where they go. It's actually pretty complicated, Rob. I mean, it takes between 2 and 4 days just to write all the checks in the office.
Wow.
Yeah, I know it's a serious job. So we had a lady, she quit. Unfortunately, sometimes employees quit on you, and I have a new one in there, and now hopefully it works out with her. But you never know with employees.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there, done that. I've had a dozen employees at one time, and then restructured, went down to a few, and it's give and take. They just don't have the same passion that you do.
Yeah, like life can be good. It can be good, and it can also not be good with a big team. I think John Maxwell says, a leader's dream can turn into a nightmare when the leader has a big vision and a bad team.
Right.
That's how you make a nightmare.
Now, with your team, I mean, you're buying and selling homes all the time, so you have to have a very reliable team, not only to help you with the facilitating of the buying, but also the construction or the rehab, and everything that has to go through that. So how?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the team's huge if you add up all the contractors. Like, there's 6 general contractors, there's a couple lawyers, there's a mortgage broker, there's dozens of realtors. I own a staging company, so there's staging personnel, then there's internal people. I've got an acquisitions guy, I've got an internal bookkeeper. I also have a brand manager. I've got multiple internet marketers on my team. I got an SEO guy. I've got a webmaster guy, a couple webmasters. I've got a marketing funnel guy, copywriter. I mean, the team it's a huge undertaking, and some of them are salaried and some of them are commissioned, and then some of them are contractors and subcontractors. So it's a big machine.
It's also mind-boggling too, because here you are, you're the CEO of your brand, but now you're trying to keep track of everyone else that's underneath you. So do you have someone that helps you, that guides you, or you just kind of keep a mental picture of everything?
Well, right now I have to do it as a mental picture. So I have people in charge of little compartments and little divisions, and they all report to me. In the near future, I'd like to have a president or a CEO that kind of handles everything, and then the president reports to me. That'd be nicer. But it all depends on what direction my company goes in. You know, there's a lot of, when you get to the level I'm at, I mean, I'm a diverse entrepreneur. I've got 13 income streams. I do real estate. I'm also making a lot of money in other things as well. So the question is, which of the 13 income streams are going to be grown in the next couple of years? And you know, I've released a couple books. The books are quite lucrative. Speaking can be quite lucrative. I do a lot of coaching and mentoring with my success. People want that, so people are buying it. And then, you know, there's real estate, there's lending, there's all sorts of ways that I make money. And as an entrepreneur, you have to look at the waves on the ocean and figure out which direction the boat's going to go, because you know, what you want to sell might not be what the market wants to buy.
You know, and you touched on the income streams. Now, how do you know when to cut ties with an income stream that's no longer producing?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like being a farmer. If you have cows that are eating more than they're producing in milk, you have to shoot those cows. And you know, if you look at chickens or any type of animal or any type of land, if something ceases to be profitable, you know, you have to adjust. You know, right now, I've had a very big flipping business in my market in Winnipeg. Well, Winnipeg is not that great for flipping all of a sudden. So I have to figure out now, do I diversify? Do I switch to wholesaling? Do I switch to lending? What do I do with this same resources? Or do I switch to another market? Or do I switch to another business? You know, you have to look at it as a whole and say, how are you going to profit off of this opportunity? Because sometimes the thing works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's the nature of any business.
You know, entrepreneurs, they just cling to something whether or not it works or not. So they continue to hope. And you know, I know a lot of renters that they, you know, or rental owners, that they continuously hope that this property is going to turn some money, and they hold on to this thing for so long, you know, and they could have sold it a long time ago, and now they're losing money on it.
Yeah.
You know, so how did you get started in real estate? Because I think I saw in one of your books that you started out with $1,200, and it created this empire of yours.
Yeah, well, the story goes like this. You know, I started with $1,200. That was my first and only down payment I've ever put on a property. Every other property I've ever bought is no money down of mine. It's always somebody else's money. And so I started with a $1,200 down payment. I went in with 6 guys on a little crappy house in Winnipeg. And I learned how to raise money at a young age. So every property I bought, I would go out and raise the money. And, you know, at any given time, I'm controlling between $2 and $5 million of capital in play. And it's great to be moving that kind of money, because you can make some significant money when you're moving that amount of money. I mean, the money's in the money. So that's something that I have an advantage over other people, in that I learned how to raise money. A lot of real estate investors don't know how. So they'll have a duplex or a triplex or maybe a couple rental properties, and they're stuck. So what those kind of people do is, maybe the smart ones will call me up and say, how do I raise money and build a business? So I'm first and foremost an entrepreneur, Rob. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur who happens to do real estate, and the name of the game is to not get stuck when you're playing this game. So you have to know how to raise money. You have to know how to market. You have to know how to negotiate. You have to know how to manage cash flow. You have to know how to do everything if you want to be an entrepreneur.
So how many properties? I mean, does your empire just buy single family homes, or they buy commercial? I mean, is it a mix?
Well, my flipping business does typically exclusively single family homes. A couple duplexes have snuck in as flips. I can't say flipping duplexes is the greatest. I've flipped a couple of them. I'm stuck with one right now, which is too bad, but it cash flows. Typically lots and lots of single family homes. My lawyer tells me I've done over 100 deals at his table. That's what he says. And then as far as the holds, you know, I've got some single family holds as single family homes as holds. I've got some multi-units. I've got a fourplex and some other units. At the end of the day, my favorite game in real estate is lending and flipping single-family homes. The rentals I have are typically the ones I keep that I want to keep for 30 years. Those are long-term plays. So that's downtown land that I like to own. I've got a parking lot that's very nice. And those are really, I call that warehousing debt. You just grab a bunch of debt, you warehouse it, and you just let it liquidate. So when I'm 45, 50 years old, I'll have a couple $1 million of real estate I can borrow against to be a hard money lender. That's the goal. If you want a goal for your life, you want to be a hard money lender. That's the key to life right there.
So how is real estate in Winnipeg different than, let's say, the States?
It's really not. Like, real estate is the human nature business. And that's something I say to people when I speak on stages is real estate's the same in Winnipeg as Toronto, as Chicago, as Dallas, Texas, San Antonio, Tucson, Arizona, California, China, Sweden, wherever. It's the same. It's always the human nature business, and the same human things are happening. Death, divorce, downsizing, foreclosures, those happen everywhere. So there might be some laws that are different. For example, Winnipeg is we have a left-wing government, so very business unfriendly. Tenants have all the power, and we have very high taxes, high property taxes. Certain maneuvers may or may not be legal or illegal in different markets, but at the end of the day, business is the same everywhere. McDonald's, they sell cheeseburgers everywhere. And people buy the cheeseburgers because McDonald's is the human nature business. People like cheap, fast, tasty food. And same with flipping properties. Everywhere in the world, there's screwed up homes, screwed up homeowners. And everywhere in the world, those homes can be bought, fixed, and sold for a profit.
Well, let's talk about screwed up homes. I mean, because I've seen some of your pictures on Facebook. And, some of the homes that tenants leave are trashed.
The ones you see on Facebook, Rob, are probably flips, so they're probably acquisitions. I have had some tenants totally trash properties, and that really sucks. But they more than likely are, those ones are flips. I did one with 120 cats in it. I did one with 30 dead animals, 1 dead human. I did an 11 cat house. I've done hoarder houses. I've done burnouts. I've done just about everything you can imagine. Gang houses, crack houses, party houses. Yeah, I mean, it's everything, caved in roofs, houses full of pornography. It just goes on and on. Whatever you want, I've done it.
Wow. I mean, I don't think I'd want to deal with some of that. There's got to be an emotional element there too.
Well, I don't deal with it. My contractors do, right? I walk in and say, "Okay, guys, clean it out. Bye-bye." And, I just cut the checks. So, they deal with it. I film it. I get the show and the sizzle out of it. And then, they have to do all the dirty work. So I don't really do much. I mean, I got a potential TV show happening. We're shooting a sizzle reel for it. And I had to pick up a hammer and swing it around. I don't even know how to swing a hammer, man. I used to paint homes. I know how to paint, but hammers, nails, screws, I don't know about any of that. I can't even fix a light bulb, man.
About 27 years ago, I worked for a painting company, and it was the worst job ever. No, I don't want to ever do that. I hire someone to do that. So, you built this empire, and then you decided to write some books. I mean, I've written books, and I know how they work, and they're more designed to create you as the authority. But now you're making money on the book, so you're back to this, multiple streams of income.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, my first book, Money People Deal, was written to raise money because I was a young entrepreneur. I wanted to raise money for my real estate business, so I wrote this book called Money People Deal, explaining how deals were done. And that book, I think I've moved about 2,500 copies of it, and that's okay. And I've raised $5 million of cash. So the cash I work with today came from that book. So I've made a lot of money on the back end of that book. What's happened as a side effect of having a book is people want coaching, mentoring, consulting, all sorts of other things have happened. There's been demand for seminars, demand for speaking, demand for all sorts of things I could never foresee, just being a guy wanting to raise money for his deals. So the second book, Self-Made, that just came out, I don't know, you have a copy, right, Rob?
Not yet, but I think Paul will probably get me
Oh,
one.
okay.
And
Cool.
for
So,
those, yeah, for those that are joining us, Paul is a mutual friend of both of ours that lives up in Winnipeg. He actually was a co-author of my Optimize This book, and he's just a real nice guy. So back to you, Stefan.
cool. So yeah, Self-Made, that book was designed to be a book. You know, it was designed to be a product someone would buy and consume, um, and set people up to get educated in real estate. Because at the end of the day, what's very interesting is it's what people want. You know, if you flip homes or if you have rental properties, there's a certain demand for that. And then, you know, when you start building a brand, there's a demand for information, speaking, knowledge, coaching, all those things. So, you know, I'm going to be flying out to the UK next week to speak. I just got back from Vancouver. Before that, I was in Calgary. I got invited to be in a movie. So there's a movie launch called The Treasure Map I was in. And that's part of building a brand. So, you know, the brand eventually, it's kind of like a brand like Ralph Lauren. You know, they sell clothes and shoes and all sorts of things. And the brand is more important and more valuable than the business, because Stefan Aarnio, the brand, could sell any number of things, right? I could sell homes, I could sell shoes, I could sell ties, I could sell books, I could sell whatever, because there's a good brand there.
And I think that's what most entrepreneurs lack, is they focus on one thing to sell. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, for 20 years I had a local carpet cleaning business, just like my co-author Paul. And you know, it wasn't until I started breaking out and writing books, and that's when my coaching took off. You know, and now I have multiple streams of income, and I don't have to worry about going out and clean carpet. I sold that business. I mean, that was something that I started because I was young and stupid. I mean, I praise all the guys that are out there cleaning carpet, but it was not something that I wanted to do long term. Although I ended up doing it for 2 decades, and my wife says it was 2 decades too long. I should have done this coaching stuff a long time ago, but without those life lessons, I would have never learned to do what I do now.
Well, Rod, that's where the real value is at. And, you know, I think a lot of people look at coaching or mentoring and they want to be coaches or mentors or speakers. But the trouble is, you have to have some real miles, some road miles, and some real battle scars before you get into that business. Because, you know, I have lots of local competitors here who, you know, flip one house and throw up a coaching shingle and say, hey, man, I'm a coach. Well, that's cool because they see fast, easy money. Well, the truth is, with money, there's no such thing as fast or easy. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really work like that. You know, I've won Rich Dad International Hall of Fame 2014. I'm the only one in Canada last year to get that. That's a very, very rare award. They audit you. I've been Joint Venture Partner of the Year 2012, Canadian Real Estate Wealth Magazine. I was nominated for Investor of the Year 2014, Canadian Real Estate Wealth Magazine. I have an Entrepreneurship Award in 2013. I'm a real dude who's really doing it and doing it in a big way. And if you're a carpet cleaning guy and you got those road miles, that's worth a lot. You know, that's your tuition versus, you know, some of these coaches that coach you on coaching. That's I call that bullshit.
You know, and there's a lot of bullshit out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the internet's good and the internet's bad. It's good because anybody can get on it, and it's bad because anybody can get on it. So anybody can get on there and suddenly become some sort of expert. But the question is always, what is backing that up? What's the real value, right?
You know, and one of the things that I looked for a long time ago is I knew back then that I wanted to get out of cleaning. You know, so I started learning from the best. I mean, I sought out marketers, I sought out copywriters, I sought out you know, authors, and I read and learned and discovered and made mistakes. And that's, you know, kind of what helped me, you know, build my own brand. And although my brand's probably not as powerful as yours, you know, I think people see my laid back, more Pennsylvania dad figure than, you know, someone who's more energetic, who goes out there and kind of like your catchphrase, respects the grind. You know, they're always out there pumping and working hard. that's not me. I'm more laid back, and I think people can see the different personalities in the people that they want to hire.
Right. Well, they everybody has some sort of thing that resonates with them, whatever that is. Some people like the fact that I started with $1,200. Some people like the fact that I say respect the grind. Some people like whatever. It doesn't matter. There's some sort of thing that resonates with people, and that's why they buy things. I mean, that's what buying is very irrational, right? And I learned that in the home selling business is these homes we're selling are bought and sold for irrational reasons. It's not rational at all. We think it's rational, but it's not.
Some of the homes, though, there's got to be, especially the people that are selling them. They go through divorce, they go through, relocation, there's an emotional connection to that house. How do you go in and not have an emotional connection because you're buying and selling? You're not treating it as something that you're going to live in. You're treating it more as a commodity.
Well, let me tell you, my own home is renovated to the nines, and it's very stressful because it is emotional, my own home. But the other homes that I do for profit, I'm very unemotional on the purchase, and I'm very unemotional about the renovation. I'm very unemotional at the sale. It's a very unemotional game for me, which is good. In your business, you want to be unemotional. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get into businesses they love, and the whole thing's emotional. I was in a store today buying a scarf from a guy. He's a local fashion designer. I was buying a couple scarves from him. And he's making his own scarves. He's making his own jeans, his own clothes. Everything's emotional. And he asked me about my cardigan. He said, "Hey, that's a nice cardigan." I said, "Yeah, I got it for $16 on Amazon from China." And he goes, "Oh, man, that's crazy. I saw China. I've been there. It's gross." And I said, "But, buddy, you can get this for $16, sell it in your shop for $160, and you don't have to do any work." Well, no, he wants to sit in the back and knit his own scarves and make his own jeans. And that's the emotional thing he wants to do, and that's cool. I can guarantee you, though, he's probably not making much money in that store because he's got overhead and lights and employees and all these things, and he would probably be better off just doing arbitrage and branding these Chinese pieces as his own. He'd be way better off.
Let's kind of talk about not the cheap stuff. Okay, we'll talk about China.
Explain cheap to me, Rob. Honestly, explain cheap to me. I'm going to challenge you. Explain what cheap is to me.
I think what most people would fall as cheap, and it's a kind of an arbitrary thing, because when I say cheap, that's kind of produced really quickly without much thought to it. They just pump it out to get the most money, or they're doing it like kind of a Walmart stand just to bring in traffic.
Right, but here's the thing: like, people say cheap or expensive. That's all BS, because I'm sitting here. I have an IKEA desk. This laptop's on an IKEA desk. Well, some people say IKEA is cheap. Well, IKEA is made, I call it affordable, and it lasts forever. So it's a high value item that has a low cost. I don't say cheap. I mean, cheap to me is crap that falls apart. That cheap is, there's frugal and there's cheap. Frugal is something that's valuable that you get for less money. For example, my next home I buy to live in will be at an auction. That'll be a frugal move. My next car, I'll buy it at an auction in foreclosure. It'll be a frugal move. But cheap, I mean, this cardigan I'm wearing is friggin' beautiful, dude. And I bought another one for $400. It's a Ralph Lauren cardigan. This is a $16 cardigan. I have a $400 Ralph Lauren cardigan around the corner. And the Ralph Lauren cardigan is truly a nicer cardigan, but not much. And certainly not $400 better. But I paid $400 for it because I wanted a straight black cardigan in that certain style. And that certain cardigan could not be found anywhere else. So I had to pay $400 because I'm a man, and a man will pay twice as much for something he needs versus a woman who will pay half as much for something she doesn't need.
There you go.
So I don't believe in cheap. I think cheap is bullshit. Like, if you look at homes, expensive home, a nice home is typically 2 or 3 times the price of a starter home. It's also 2 or 3 times the size and has the exact same stuff in it. Mm-hmm. But people perceive it to be nicer because it's on a nicer piece of dirt. But it's just the dirt. The dirt is the value. It's the same paint, the same drywall, the same everything. But it's funny, you know, even my multimillionaire investors, they'll talk about cheap. Well, you do a lot of starter homes, and people say, oh, that's cheap. Well, no, it's not. It's actually the same stuff or better than the luxury homes. But people don't know what cheap or value is, you know?
And get the same home, and they might have decorated it a little differently. They might have put some, you know, marble into it, or ceramics, or.
Oh, bro, we do that in our starter homes too. We put marble, we put granite in there. I bling it up, man. It's blinged up.
And that helps sell it better?
Oh, people love that. They love that. They love I call it bullshit. They love bullshit. You know, they love marble, and they love stainless steel, and they love, you know, all these things because it makes them feel rich. Now, they're not rich, but it makes them feel rich.
Now, how does putting all that, you know, that bling into a home, you know, does that bring you more profit, or just help sell the house quicker?
It's both. I mean, save for the granite. The granite, I've stopped doing granite. I do butcher block now, because butcher block is high perception of value, low cost. That stuff, you know, it's very competitive right now, and people love nice looking, affordable homes. And the best thing is, you know, I have a home staging company, Rob, again, filled up with cheap IKEA furniture. And, you know, we put that furniture in a $500,000 home, and it sells. People still love it. It's cheap, but people love it. So, you know, what is cheap? Cheap is I look at it as a cost thing, not a value judgment.
Now let's talk about staging. I mean, because around here, you know, a lot of the realtors, they'll do the staging, they'll do the selling of a home. And here you're doing kind of it all as your own company to try to sell a home. You know, what is the best to stage? I have no idea.
I'm sorry, Rob, you cut out. What's the question?
Oh, I said, what is the best way to stage a home?
Well, I have a home staging company. So we have 8 sets of furniture that move around from home to home, and I do it for other people. I do it for my own deals as well. What you need to do with staging is you need to make it look like a magazine, right? Because people are programmed and conditioned to buy magazine things, you know. Men are programmed and women are programmed to look like the magazine women, and we want the magazine women, and we want the magazine lifestyle, and the magazine home, and the magazine car. And so I make it look like the magazine. So whatever it takes. I mean, if they want little green apples on the counter, if that's what's in the magazine, we'll do it. If there's some sticks in the corner, these random decorative sticks, we'll put the sticks out. If there's a shag carpet, whatever's in fashion, that's what we'll stage. And the key is to make it look expensive without being expensive, right? Because people love expensive looking things.
Is there a certain demographic that you actually target, or you just, you know, kind of hope that it catches someone's eye?
Well, again, I mean, it's the demographic for the staging is it's very neutral stuff, so it goes in any home, and it has to look expensive because people love expensive looking things. So it's the human nature business again. There's not a single person that is different in human nature. We all love gold looking things. You know, human nature is we love gold shiny things. We love things that look expensive and are perceived value, but at the end of the day, when you look behind the curtain, maybe the brass statue is hollow, or maybe, you know, often we don't have any beds. We have fake beds. The beds are made of boxes and covered with bedding. So it looks beautiful, but if you jump on the bed will be crushed. So it's literally a stage. It's like the food they shoot in magazines. It's not real food. The ice cream is actually some sort of composite vegetable thing, you know, and the cheese isn't real cheese, but it looks like real cheese in the picture.
So you make it look appealing.
Yeah, it has to look appealing. It's like icing on the cake. You know, the cake is just cake, but you got to put the icing and the cherries and some chocolate shavings on the side, and, you know, maybe some custard in there, and you put happy birthday on it and some candles, and everybody's excited about this cake.
So you now have, I mean, you buy and sell homes, you have a book, you even do lending and staging. I mean, that's got to take its toll. I mean, when do you have time to work on your own stuff?
Well, this is my own stuff, Rob. This is my life,
Well,
man.
I mean, to go out and like go to a ball game, or just to get your mind away from the business.
Well, I have a different perspective, Rob. I have a perspective. You have one life. There's no personal. There's no business. It's just one life. And I've chosen a very intense life, which is entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship, truthfully, doesn't end. If you look at my accounting and my write-offs, I mean, we have wine written off because we do events. We have lots of travel. I mean, I'm going to be in the UK next week. That's cool. That's for work. And I can't say that 100% of the time will be work. There'll be some sightseeing, maybe go on some dates with some UK girls or something. Who knows? It's a hard life, right? But it's one life, Rob. And that's the thing, is I think that people think that there's two lives. Well, I think that's a very employee mentality of looking at things. If you look at Richard Branson, I think he says he has one life too. He says treat your business like your home and your home like a business, or your family like a business.
Well, I think with Richard Branson, though, he also takes time to enjoy his estate on Necker Island.
But that's a business, bro. Necker Island's a business. They charge big money for businesses and groups to come hang out with him. Well, sure, he's hanging out, but he's making money while he's hanging out. And he's got naked models on his back, and he's kite surfing with these models. And like Richard Branson, the guy is not hanging around just doing nothing. He's making money, and he's making marketing pieces and all sorts of stuff. I just spent this morning, I spent quite a bit of money on clothes because I've got to get some new clothes. Well, you can say that's personal. I say it's business because guess what? I'm filming videos and shooting photos and stuff all the time. And that's my marketing, man. It's lifestyle marketing. So I don't think there is a line, personally. I think it all goes together. It all runs together. And if you try to separate it, if you're an entrepreneur, you're either going to be a shitty entrepreneur or you're going to go insane.
So when you eventually get a family, and stop dating all these UK women, how will you separate it, or won't you? You'll just you'll take it into the marriage.
Well, yeah. Well, that's part of the deal. I mean, I'm single, and I'm single because typically women like the benefits of entrepreneurship, but a lot of them, and I say women, but I mean people in general, don't like the cost of entrepreneurship. Like, for example, my own home, the second floor of the building I live in is my office. The third floor is my personal space. And the first floor is a rental unit. Well, some women aren't cool with that. They want a dog and a yard and all that. Well, I'm never home, so it doesn't matter to me. But you certainly need a woman and a family that's able to do that. Now, you have kids. The kids, they'll just do whatever because they're kids and they don't know any better. But you certainly need a woman who's on board with this stuff. And if she's not on board, she's not the woman for you.
My wife's very encouraging to me, in any venture that I've been in. Now the kids, not so much. I work at home now, so a lot of times they're like, Dad, I know you're just on the computer. You're not doing anything. You can be my taxi driver today. What?
Yeah, no, that doesn't work.
No, I'm still working. And they're like, no, Dad, you're just in front of you're not working. You're at home. And I'm like,
yeah, it doesn't work like that.
No, so they don't understand the hours that I put in, whether I'm on the computer, doing these interviews, whether I'm, working on a website, whether I'm writing a book. They just don't understand. Now, my wife always gives me space because she knows that I'm making money for the household.
Well, there you go. I mean, one day when I do have a family, there will be a family budget, and that's what the family gets, and that's it. That's the budget. It's no different than any other, a home like a business, or a family like a business, and a business like a family. It's the same thing.
Any of your properties you rent out, to families? I mean, you said you hold some of them.
I have no idea who lives in my homes. I have managers who manage them. I have no idea who lives in them. I just get a report. That's it. And quite frankly, Rob, I don't care as long as they're paying and they're not trashing it. That's the game with rentals. I have no idea who's in them. But there are some homes, and I imagine there's families living in the homes because families want homes. I also have some like small apartment units, and those are probably not families. They're probably single people or couples or something.
Now, do you have a problem with eviction? I mean, I don't know what the eviction rates up in Winnipeg are. I know down here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, they're low, but you still always have a problem.
Well, that's like anything. I mean, I've done so many homes, I've had one burned down on me. Like if you do enough of something, you're going to run into every scenario. So I have, yeah, we've had some people who've had to be evicted. We've had non-payments. I mean, the biggest thing is, Rob, it's the human nature business. And if you can negotiate with the human being on the other side and treat him well and try to be fair with him, fair and firm, hopefully you don't have too many problems. I haven't had too many problems. I mean, I've had some crazy things. I've had drug dealers in my suites. I've had prostitutes. I've had schizophrenic guys that got hauled off to jail. I've had hoarders. I've had a guy get cancer and start a scrap metal business in my suite. I've had all sorts of things, you know, biker boyfriends move in, roommates break up because somebody starts having sex with somebody else, or like all these crazy things, right? Humans are just crazy. So they do crazy things, and you hope that they're not nuts, and you do all your checks and balances, but you never know at the end of the day what this person is. You just have to find out.
So it's good that you kind of distance yourself away and have your managers deal with that daily aspect of the renting and the paperwork and the screening, because that way you can focus on the real big money picture.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like that, dicking around with those tenants and stuff, like you're never going to make a lot of money doing that. At best, you're saving money. You're saving another guy for $30 an hour to do that. You know, it's just very low level. Like you can do that all day long, but you're never going to get anywhere doing that. You're better off. It's kind of like, you know, you can go clean the bathroom at the office as much as you want, but it's never going to make the office successful. Like a clean enough bathroom is good, but just sitting in there and cleaning the bathroom all day, well, that's not bringing your company to prosperity.
You know, 20 some years ago, I owned a flooring store, and my landlord had this big complex that we were in, and he was acting as his own general contractor. So he would go out there and do all the work. And I said, you know, why are you doing the work? He says, well, you know, I have the whole building in a shielded company, and I hire myself to do the work to save myself on the labor. And I said, yeah, but what about the liability? He says, well, they can't sue me because it's shielded. And I said, okay, well, whatever. Well, I heard after I left the building, after my lease was up, I heard that he was actually doing some work, and he wasn't protected. He was doing some electrical work, and the panel exploded, and he burned 3/4 of his chest, and he was in the hospital for months. And you know, right there, it told me that you should not be your own contractor when you have property.
Right. I've done that, and it's really not. It's not profitable to do your own work. It's not profitable to be your own manager. It's not. A lot of that stuff isn't profitable stuff. So, you know, stop doing it. You're just doing it to save money, and you know, you're working for $10 an hour to save yourself from doing $1,000 an hour work. Well, that's not very smart.
You know, and it kind of goes back to see, you know, YouTube videos where people are you know maybe interviews like this where AdWords pops up or whatever they have, excuse me, you know, these little Google ads, and you might get like 2 cents or 3 cents, but yet it's being diverted. The message is being diverted off of your page to someone else. And I'm like, wow, you're trading nickels, you know, for dollars. And I think some of these entrepreneurs that are out there that are getting into real estate aren't doing it the right way. They're doing it backwards. You know, they're buying one property or two properties, and they're holding it for 20 years in hopes that that'll be the retirement. And there you go. You got a story where it burned down or it did this or did that. Now they're out nothing. I mean, maybe they'll get their investment back from the insurance, but really it was more headache than what it was worth.
Mm-hmm. Well,
You know,
Rob, making money is all about being really, really good at something. So if you're really, really good at something, you can make money. You'll make profit. If you're not very, very good at something, well, that's too bad. You're not going to make any money. And that's that's just how it works. You know, when you go to Dairy Queen, they're really, really good at blizzards and milkshakes and dip cones. When you go to McDonald's, they're really, really good at the small cheeseburger. When you go to Burger King, they're all about the Whopper. Like, everybody's got a thing they're really good at. And if you're going to have a business, you better be damn good at that one thing. And if you're not really, really good or have some competitive advantage, you need to get out of that business.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's, everybody that's watching this needs to realize that you need to have some type of competitive advantage that you're good at. You know, if you're just rolling through life hoping that that lucky thing will happen, it's not going to happen. So, and I think, Stefan, you're a great example of taking that one thing that you love and expanding it into multiple streams, because, you know, whether or not we're all, you know, not all of us are good writers, you know, but we all have a story that we have to tell that will help others get to know us a little bit better. And your books are a prime example of letting people know what your real estate is all about, what you're doing, what you're, you know, how you're making money, and you're doing it so well. Mm-hmm. You know, you have people below you and do what you tell them to do, so that you're, you know, some of the things that you'd like to share with somebody, you know, maybe out of your book, or you know, just common tips that you hope someone would know.
Well, I think the biggest thing if somebody wants to do entrepreneurship is you have to get a mentor or a coach. A mentor is really good. Somebody who's been there before you that can, you know, save you years of time and probably tens of thousands of dollars in mistakes. That's probably one of the most important things. I think it's important for somebody to read every day. You know, I try to read every day. I try to do a book a week. That's my goal, book every week. I think that you want to invest in yourself. You know, spend a lot of time and money on yourself. Henry Ford says, I didn't save a dollar on myself until I was 40 years old, because until he was 40, he spent every dollar on himself to become a better person. And I think that, you know, if you want to do entrepreneurship, it's the ultimate in personal development. It's the ultimate personal development game. So, you know, giddy up and get ready to spend some money on yourself. Get ready to get a coach, get a mentor, get ready to read every day. I mean, it goes further than this, you know. One thing I'm working on, I have to get in better shape, because now I'm at the point where physically I'm limited because I'm not in the best shape in the world. Well, if I want to go to the next level, I have to get in better shape, because it's getting your time under control, your money under control, and then finally your energy under control. So there's lots and lots of things. I mean, we can talk forever, Rob. That's why there's books written about this stuff, right?
Just a few.
Just a few, exactly.
You know, there's a lot of good books out there. There's and, you know, and I try not to discount any book. I mean, there's books out there that probably shouldn't be printed ever. But there's always something that you can take from a book. There's always one, you know, nugget of information that makes that book worthwhile. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe it saves you $1,000. Maybe it, you know, it saves you $1. Who knows? But, you know, it's there for a reason. You know, use it. You might not agree 100% with the book, but there's going to be something in there that will help you. You know, there's a lot of things I think that people need to know, you know, and we're not all going to know them, you know, but I think that we need to have mentors, you know, and some mentors are going to, you know, be in our life for a short time. Some of them will be around for a while. I mean, you came across a book that changed your life, you know, Robert Kiyosaki's book. And have you ever got to meet him?
Oh yeah, I've met him many times, and I've won the Rich Dad International Award, so I'm one of their poster boys.
How does that make you feel? I mean, that's a lot of responsibility.
Oh, it's cool. I mean, I don't think they give very many of those out. They give out 5 or 6 a year, so it's pretty fantastic to get that.
And when you got that award, I mean, people in Winnipeg, did they celebrate? Did they really help, you know, push you as the authority in real estate?
Well, Jesus wasn't a prophet in his hometown, Rob. I mean, that's just how it works, right? You know, it's funny. I was in Vancouver last week, and the people in Vancouver were loving the stuff I was doing. You come to Winnipeg, and people say, "Well, I remember Stefan when he was 6 years old and peed his pants on the playground." Well, that's that's a little different. I mean, yeah, people think that's a big deal, but in your hometown, you're always hometown Jesus rather than Jesus of Nazareth, right? So if you go to a different city or a different place, you're more fancy than you are at home. At home, you're just at home.
You know, most of my clients aren't even in my own town anymore. You know, when I had the carpet cleaning business, everybody knew me. But, you know, since I got rid of it, all my coaching clients are in states, you know, outside of Pennsylvania. And I think it's better that way, because now in my own town, I can be anonymous. You know, I don't feel like I've impressed anybody around here. It just doesn't matter. But, so, you know, to me, I like having clients all over in other states. It's just, I don't know, it's more flexible to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can be famous or infamous. I mean, whichever you want.
Well, you could be both, I guess. You know, how can people get a hold of you? I mean, at least they're going to get a hold of you for your books. So they can find your books, what, on Amazon?
They can get them direct through my website. So my latest one is Self-Made. You can get that through selfmadeconfessions.com. Or Money People Deals, my first book. You can get that at moneypeopledeal.com. If people want to get a hold of me, they can go to stefanarnio.com, STEFANAARNIO.com, or they can find me on social media. I mean, I own Stefan Aarnio on the internet. You know, no one else has that name, so it's me. And I own all the real estate if you look me up. So
are you expand out of Winnipeg? Or are you getting into other Canadian areas?
Well, I speak all over, and I do coaching across Canada and the United States. So that's something that's going international. Real estate wise, I'm looking at going to Dallas. So, you know, I might even pack up everything and move there pretty soon. Who knows? It's one of those things. It's tough moving when you're successful somewhere. It's tough to move. It's much easier to move if you're very unsuccessful and have nothing, right?
You know, I've been trying to get my wife to move, and she's like, "Well, where would we move?" And you know, to relocate the bedroom house here, and it's huge, and you know, it's just, I like to sell it, but you know, that's the thing. The problem: everybody wants a 3-bedroom home. Nobody wants a 6-bedroom home. So now I have to market it as a 3-bedroom with a library, a weight room, and whatever else room, and you know, so. You know, when I bought this house and then I expanded it, I did so because of my family, you know. But had I known that it would be a pain in the ass to sell, I probably wouldn't have done it this way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at eventually moving, but we haven't decided where. I mean, I like to move somewhere where it's a little warmer. I hate the cold. You know, after 40 some years, I just don't, the cold doesn't impress me anymore. So, but you know, there you go. I think that wherever you move, you know, you could start over, you could do whatever you're doing and have a successful business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, there's entrepreneurs out there, though. I think that they, especially going back to my carpet cleaning days, that is more of a centralized demographically job, because it's really hard to expand if you want to move somewhere, and because you'll lose all your clients right away. You know, so, you know, doing what we do, writing books, you could do that anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to Confessions. Did it take you long to write that? I mean, I know that some of my books didn't take me long. In fact, the Optimize This with me and Paul start from conception to you know, launching on Amazon to #1 in 4 countries was about 60 days. But my last book, Lessons from the Dojo, took me probably 5 months because it was a little my element. So I was putting more heart and soul into it.
Self-Made took me 2 years. I had to write it to 38,000 words, threw it in the trash, rewrote it under a different title. I actually typed it up myself. I actually wrote it. It's a real book. It's hardcover. It's got gold. It's embossed. It's got event tickets in it, man. It's a real deal book. It's not a transcribe and ghostwrite kind of thing. I hired a ghostwriter, but she told me that I write it better than she could. So I got stuck writing it. I wrote both my books myself, though, because I'm a writer, so I can actually write well. I mean, lots of people can't, but that's a gift I have, so I use it.
But 2 years and then to throw it away. I mean, what made you take it out of the trash and rewrite it?
Well, the book originally was called The Zero Investor, and it was supposed to be about surviving in the jungle and this, me starting with no money and stuff. And then The Zero Investor, it's a terrible title. It wasn't written in a proper story format. I really rolled all the lessons into stories. So when people read Self-Made, they get it down the hatch in one sitting. I mean, it's 60,000 words. It's a serious book. Most books are 50,000. This is 60,000 words, and it slides down the hatch in 1 or 2 sittings. So, the craft of that, to get that to that point of a well-crafted story with the lessons folded in there, that took a long time. And then, the proper brand positioning, I think it went through a bunch of titles between start and finish, and I'm quite happy with it. Rob, it's a project that actually turned out better than I thought. And most projects, as you know, don't turn out better than you think. Usually they undershoot the mark. But the moment I opened up the box and saw the finished product, it's very, very good. I mean, it's not even print on demand. It's a run of books. I had to fork out a serious check to get that book printed. I had to, I'm probably in that book for a $40,000 investment of cash. Wow. So it's a real book. And it's good, though. I think we've sold about 700 copies already.
Nice.
And then that's sold at $40 or $50 a copy, which is really good.
That is nice. Do you sell them at mostly your events, or do you sell them, mostly online?
They've been sold online. They've been sold on events. I'm going for an infomercial right now. That's my next little game. I think I can do really well on infomercials. I could probably sell 25,000 or 50,000 of them on an infomercial. So that's where I'd like to go in the future.
Wow. I mean, to be honest, this interview was very impressive to me, because here you are, your brain is just wired to making money, and I think
that's true. It is true.
And I'm listening to this and I'm like, wow, it's like listening to my grandfather, who was a multimillionaire real estate investor, but he was 60 some years old before he made his millions. And, you're in your late 20s?
29.
Yeah. And here you are, shaking up the world. And, in the next few years, you'll be the next Trump. I mean, it's just.
Well, I don't know. When Trump was 27, his first deal was 1,100 units. So who knows, man? It could be the case. But the one thing that's interesting about Trump is he's more brand than real estate. He did a lot of real estate, but he's brand. He's brand to the max. And that's something I have in common with Trump, is I'm brand to the max. Brand over real estate.
One day, maybe we'll see your names on buildings.
Yeah, Aarnio. Terrible name nobody can say, and my first name, everyone screws it up too. It's not like Trump, That's a good name to put on a building.
Well, maybe you'll have a clothing line like Sean John or something. But
respect the grind clothing. It's coming.
There you go. So everybody that's watching, watch what Stefan does, because I think that he is going to light up the world in the next few years. I mean, just listening to him, the guy's brain never turns off. I mean, as you can see, multiple streams of income. He's got real estate. He's got books. He's got clothing line. He's got it going. So take example. Get his books. So, Stefan, I appreciate the time that you took. We're running out of time. But, if you have any last-minute words of wisdom that you want to share, now's the time.
Well, I got to say it every video, Rob. Respect the grind. That's what makes people successful. When you understand it's going to take you 10 years and 10,000 hours to become a master, you got to respect that and get in line and start grinding, because there's no shortcuts in this world. There's no fast way to anything.
And everybody, watch his videos. I mean, you're plugging out videos at least once a day. You know, it's a tip of the day, whether it's you know, a real estate thing, whether it's a human element tip. You know, watch him, because start emulating what he does. You know, and eventually you're going to be that guy that makes money too. So thank you all. If you want to, you know, hear more from Stefan, just let me know. We'll bring him back. And I think that, you know, if you guys have questions, you know, comment below. You know, let Stefan know that, you know, you like his stuff, or you read his book, or, you know, you want to know more about real estate, or, you know, where to see him speak. So I want to thank everybody. See you later.